I would define myself as a filmmaker, as someone who has chiefly used archival footage that's in various states of degradation to make new films, and usually new films with original music. Well, I've been very fortunate to work with some incredibly gifted composers, and I work in a different way than most filmmakers in that I give my collaborators equal standing as me in the production. I cut to their work, in fact, so in some ways they precede me. And it brings the music, I think, to a heightened level in the film. It's not background music, in a way it's working in tandem with the image. It's not a way a lot of filmmakers like to work. I came out of a painting background and an animation background, so the idea that films had already gone through this plastic medium and were being remediated frame by frame meant that there was several different layers of reality happening. There was the reality from the turn of the 20th century, and then everything that happened when it was committed to paper, and then everything that happened between being committed to paper and committed back to film, and then everything that's happened since then, so that there was these sort of archaeological layers of time, and that was fascinating to me. Yeah. In Light is Calling, you have the daughter of the innkeeper out on a joyride, and she's thrown from a carriage and discovered by this young man who's actually going to her town to assume the post as the chief of police. And so they meet on the road, and she's kind of been involved in this silly accident, and he lifts her up and puts her on his horse, and they move into town, and a romance ensues. And well, with Light is Calling, I feel like you're seeing many layers of time. You're seeing this narrative that was shot in 1926. You're seeing all the different things that have happened to that film since then, and how they relate to each other. You know, some people might think of this as some pain to death, or to the end of days, or but in a way you're also seeing things that have survived quite miraculously. This is a romance depicted on film that has survived despite all odds, and of course it exists as I said, in a more pristine form, but it also exists now in this sort of, in my mind, heightened form. And this also is a conversation with digital media, because had this all been scanned or whatever, we don't know how long this would last, but this 35mm film has persevered and has reached a new format, a new platform, and can go on at least for this next little while, and until we light the next candle and bring it forward. So I do think about my work not completely as this doomsday, death knell. All images are decaying, we're all decaying, but also if the vehicle that brought us this far might be rusting, at least the spirit, the driver, is still intact. Well, Decasia was a made-up name, a hybrid of decay and fantasia, if you will. And it's a collection of old shots, for the most part, on nitrate-based film, in various forms of distress. What I was looking for as a researcher, editor, was to try to find examples where women were involved in some sort of ecstasy beyond their bodies, or an attempt to transcend their bodies, whether it was, it's an ecstatic gesture, or religious, or athletic, or whatever it was. It was an attempt to go beyond, and in those instances where there was decay happening, the implication would be that the two things were happening at once. That the spirit was striving to transcend the body, just as the body was rotting underneath the spirit, and that could be a poignant metaphor that would carry you through the film. There's a lot of circular imagery in the film. This idea that things fall apart, but they also reassemble. And all these films were from disparate sources, and coming apart, sometimes quite literally or physically, and now have been reassembled into a new film and given a new life for this period of time anyway. And that there's two different ways of looking at decay. You can look at decay as just part of a cycle where it is actually instrumental in reforming new life, and you can also think of decay as the end, or something to be feared and avoided at all costs. And so both attitudes are embraced by the film. When you think about these people when they were filmed, they had no idea, maybe even what the contemporary use or context of this film would be. I don't know if these children would even remember the day that they were shot, but there's this thing that's happened over time where they've taken on their own life in a certain way, that these films have, they're shadows of a moment that have not been shown in their original intention, and now years later they're shown in a completely new context, and represent maybe something different. I think, I'm also freezing this moment, where I'll now go off into cyberspace, and this morning in November of 2013 will live on as something that can be played for viewers like you who choose to view it again, and in a way that's a cool idea, that it can live on in this way.